and welcome to another edition of tutorial videos for EVE Online. This is the one I'm going to do some calculations of stuff to build if you want to be a beginning industrialist in EVE Online. If you haven't already watched, I recommend you watch my series on tutorials for industry in EVE Online, as well as if you're interested, I have a lab series as well. So I'm going to assume that everyone has watched the industrial series because I don't want to have to go over blueprints on how to build stuff again. This video is going to be about what to build, how to start out. Now I know that doing the tutorial videos, or doing the tutorial missions, I know you certainly should do them because you get some beginning ships and you get some starting cash and some minerals and stuff like that. You will have some starting cash, and as well you either will be, for your money making at the beginning of the game, you're either going to be missioning or you're going to be mining, and it's whatever path you want to choose. I think the mining route is easier to do the industrial stuff, but you can pick either one you want. It's your time. So although for these calculations I am assuming that everything is bought out of Jitta, all the minerals are bought out of Jitta, if you mine it all yourself, you will make a lot more profits than I'm going to calculate for you now. So just keep in mind as we go that the profits that I calculate and determine if a product is worth building, that is determined by if you bought all the minerals in Jitta. But if you're mining it yourself or you're missioning and refining it, then you'll get substantially more profits. So here's an example. So if you watch my industrial series, you will remember that I started out this game building ammo and building drones. So I thought I'd start with those as an example, and I'm going to go through the process of calculating if something is worth buying or something is worth building, and then you can then do it yourself for all other products, and you can hunt around and look to see what's worth building. So of course you can get the lists of things, like for example you want to build a drone. So for example you can go into browse here and you can go to drones, and if you want to do something that's small, if you're starting out, light scout drones are the smallest drone, there's medium drones, etc. There's mining drones as well over here. So those are the kinds of things that you might be able to start out with, so you can check those ones, but you want to stay away from heavy drones, fighters, bombers, combat drones, or not that one. Sentry will be a little bit in the future, but that's something you can move to probably within a month or so. So here's a Hornet. This is a light scout, yeah. This is a light scout drone. Now, before you build anything, you have to have a blueprint. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to contracts, and you're going to look up Hornet. You're going to type in Hornet in here, and I'll just do it to show you. Type in Hornet, press enter, and I'll come up with something like this, because it's giving you all the blueprints in the game that have Hornet in it, in the word. Then you want the blueprint here. You don't want the commodity, you want the blueprint, and then hit OK. And then it'll show this. So make sure location is set to all regions, or I guess you could set it to Jitta if you just want to do Jitta. And here's a copy here, 250k in Didoxy, which is Galente space. I am working out of Jitta. I guess I should mention really quick, you want to sell your stuff in market hubs. You don't want to sell it out in the middle of nowhere, even if the market hubs offer less profit because the sale price is more competitive, it's lower. The market hubs have far superior volumes, which means stuff sells quicker, stuff flips quicker, and that's what you want in this game. In my experience, you can make more money if you sell outside of market hubs because there's less supply, and you can get people they desperately need something, their ship blew up and they desperately want to get refitted to finish a mission, so they're going to pay more. They'll pay more if they're buying stuff out near where they are, so they don't have to jump too many systems to go back to a market hub. They'll pay more, but your volumes are going to be substantially lower. It might take you a week to sell something if you're selling it out in the middle of nowhere, some random system. But if you sell it in a market hub, especially Jitta, you could sell stuff in 5 minutes. You could, especially if it's ammo or something that has huge volumes, you could have stuff gone in 5 minutes. So, and that's what you want. You want to have your money constantly cycling. You want to input money into a product, sell that product then becomes money again, but it becomes money plus the profits, and that's what you want. So back to this. Here's the Hornet blueprint. Costs $250K if you're in the Doxy, or $400K if you're in JITA. I don't think that's outlandish for starting out. I think you get at least $500,000 or so starting out, and if you don't, then you can always mine and sell the minerals, and eventually you'll get that much money. It won't take very long. But you will need to start with a blueprint, and you will need to start with a copy. You're not going to be getting originals starting out. Originals are pretty expensive. But eventually you will want to get originals, because then it cuts out this cost that you're about to consume. So let's look at this copy here. $250K. Always keep in mind where it is. So if you're sitting in JITA and it's in the Doxy, it actually says here 15 jumps. So be mindful of that, because you're going to have to go and get it if you buy it. It's 15 jumps away. So this one here is 1,500 runs. So immediately what I always calculate is, okay, how much is that a run? This blueprint is a cost. To make a product from a blueprint, you have the minerals, but you also have this copy you're purchasing. This is a cost in the process. This is going to increase the cost of the product for you, and you need to include it to determine if you're making money, if you're making a profit. So the first thing I do is go, okay, I want to know how much this blueprint is costing me per run. So I'm going to take the cost divided by the runs. So 250K, and then I'm going to divide that into 1,500. So that's 167. So every Hornet is going to cost me, just because of this blueprint I'm buying, this copy I'm buying, it's going to cost me an extra $167 to make this. So you have to keep that in mind, write that down somewhere or whatever. Okay, the next thing you need to do now is find out what the minerals are going to cost you. So if you click on the little blue thing here, it'll bring up the information on the blueprint, on this specific blueprint. So notice that this blueprint is worked. It's 100 ME level on it already, and it shows it here too. If you look up the Hornet blueprint in the market, it's going to be a blank one, and it's going to show 0 here, which is going to have then a waste factor of probably 10%, and that's going to mess up these numbers here. So just keep in mind that if you're going to try to find out the material cost to build Hornets from this blueprint, you need to make sure that you click on the information button for this blueprint and not for a blank one. So this is the one that we would buy if we were going to buy it. 100 ME level, which affects these numbers, these mineral numbers here. These are all reduced slightly because it's a worked blueprint. Okay, now the next thing you do is, if you didn't have any other programs to help you, you would sit here and go, okay, well, 484 titanium per Hornet, so I'm going to find out the price for that. I can right click on there and go view market. What's the price for that? Okay, it's about 6, let's say. You're going to then do 484 times 6, and then you're going to go through all of them. But there's a program that will speed all this up, and I did mention it in my industry series. It's called MLCalc, MLCalc, and it's an old program. It's not updated, but it still works for the old stuff. Don't use it for T2, for example, but we're just in T1, see Hornet number 1 blueprint. It still is accurate for T1, but you can also double check. I can't show you MLCalc because I'm only using Fraps here, and Fraps only shows this Eve screen. It doesn't show out, and even if I drag it on here in windowed mode, it won't show you the MLCalc. But just look it up and download it. It's fairly easy to use. MLCalc contains all the blueprints in the game up to a certain point. Like I said, it wasn't updated. It's not updated. But it just organizes everything for you. You can input the mineral prices into MLCalc, and then just load up a blueprint just by searching in it, putting the ME level in, and then it will calculate for you the cost to make it, the cost to manufacture it. I believe there also are some websites that you can do the same thing, but you have to go look for them. But MLCalc is the most convenient. It's just a little Java program. It works great. So I've got it up right now, which you can't see, and I've got it calculating that each Hornet costs 5,300 ISK to build. 5,300 ISK each. Now remember, the blueprint costs us 167 extra per Hornet. because there's 1,500 runs here, so we can make 1,500 Hornets out of this blueprint, and then the blueprint will destroy itself. It will be used up. So that means that the total cost for us is about 5,500 ISK a Hornet. Now, so you write that down, 5,500 ISK per Hornet. Now we figure out what is it selling for. That's our cost to make it. Now what is it selling for? So if you just go to the blueprint here, if you go to attributes, it actually shows produces Hornet 1. You can right click on there and go view market. That'll give you the Hornet. There it is there. 7,500. Okay, so what did we say? We said 5,500 to make. Oops. 5,500 to make, and we're going to divide that into the cost or the selling price. We get 73%. Now you can just minus 1 from that. It's about 30%. If I just minus 1, that's about 30%, 25% profit. So that is a decent one. Now the next thing you could look up is the volumes, just to make sure they're decent. 10K volumes is good. That's fine. That will sell pretty quick. If you dump 1,500 on here, it would probably sell in a couple hours, I would say, in Jitta. But keep in mind though, that if you look on my industry series, you may have to adjust the price, because you might get, someone might compete with you on the price. They might put their price a little bit lower than yours and put their order up front. Because remember, when people buy stuff on here, that's depending on the station you're in, the product where you are in the station, the one that has the cheapest price is always bought. So you can't buy a more expensive one. If I try to buy this one down here, what actually happens is the cheapest price guy sells his products for the price I vouch to pay. So that just means that you need to, you don't have to babysit the orders necessarily, but just keep in mind that your order may get reduced down to the bottom here because people keep lowering their prices and trying to get on the top of the order here. So you may have to do a little bit of that. So you may want to check, I don't know, depending on how often you're on Eve, you might want to check your prices and then just modify them and keep them on top. So there's the Hornet as an example. So it's about 25% profit, good volume, and it costs you 250K to start with that copy. And then of course you'd mine the minerals yourself. Now also, let me just remind you, if you mine the minerals yourself, then you get more technically than 25% profit. But it's your time as well. It's not free. If you bought the minerals off of Jitta, then it would save you mining for, I don't know how long it would take you. If you had a really crappy ship, it'd probably take you an hour or so to mine enough minerals to build it. Also keep in mind that some of the minerals you're not going to be able to mine in high sec. You'll have to buy them from Jitta. The best, you can get Nox from high sec. You can get Mex if you're in the right region. Mexalin. Tritanium and pyrite are everywhere. But if it's megasite or zidron that you need, you can't get that in high sec. You have to buy it. So some of the minerals you will have to buy it in high sec anyways. You won't be able to go and mine them. You won't be able to go find those kind of asteroids. Okay, how about another example? Another kind of product that I used to build at the beginning was ammo. So let's try, I've got one ready here. Let's try Inferno Heavy Missile. So we're going to search for a blueprint. So here's, so you have to go and travel for these ones. Here's a 250K one in Jitta. So let's just take that one for example. So once again, we are going to calculate the cost of the blueprint per missile, per product. Now this one is a little bit different because missiles actually make 100 per run. And if you click on the little blue thing here to bring up the info, you'll see that each run produces 100, not just one like the Hornet. 100 missiles are produced per run of this. So when we do this calculation, we've got to do 250K. Actually, we'll do this one first. So 1,500 runs times 100 missiles per run divided by 250K, and then we're going to have to flip this because it's going to be... Actually, no, that's fine, 0.6. So the blueprint is costing us 0.6 more per missile. So you write that down. 0.6 extra cost because of the blueprint per missile. Okay, next we need to figure out the mineral cost. So you can't see this again, but I've got MLCalc up here, and I'm just going to type in the blueprint and bring it up. Actually, with this specific one, it used to be called Widowmaker. So they changed the name. So like I said, MLCalc isn't updated. This Inferno heavy missile used to be called Widowmaker heavy missile. Yeah, but it's the same thing though. It's the same mineral requirements and all that. So I've got it up here. I've got the ML in, and it costs 6,000 per run. Once again, we have to take into account that 100 missiles are made per run. So that means it's about $60 a missile that it's going to cost us to make. But we have to add our BP cost. That's going to be 60.6 ISK per missile cost to make. Okay, so you're going to write that down. That's the cost to make. Now you figure out, okay, what's the market? So here's JITA, 56 ISK per missile. That's a loss. That's about a 10% loss. So that's no good. Now, if you mined all the minerals yourself, you bought the blueprint, you made the missile and you sold them on JITA, you would still make money. But technically, if you had just mined the minerals and sold the minerals to JITA, then you would have made 10% more. Because if you make the missiles with the minerals, you have reduced the value of the initial minerals by 10%. So that's no good. So that would be not a product you'd make. That would be a bad one. Okay, I got another example here. How about a module? So I used to make modules as well. I've got an example here of a warp disruptor module. Here it is here. I'll search, look for a copy. So this one's 400K. So this is ramping up a bit. 400K, so once again, you're going to calculate the cost of the blueprint on you. So 400K divided by 300 runs. So there's the cost. It's about, what, 1,300 extra per module, just because of the blueprint that you have to buy. Next, we look at MLCalc, which you can't see. I'll put it in here and get the, okay, and I'll put the ML in, 90. Okay, 45,000 to make. We're going to add our 1,300 for the blueprint, so that's 400, I guess. And then we're going to check the cost. 46,400. Okay, that looks like good. That looks good, doesn't it? 46,400 divided by what is it, about 64.6. There. So there's about 30%. If you subtract 1 from that, about 30% profit. Now let's check the volumes. About 1,000 per day. So that's all right. That's going to take longer to sell. Especially, it sort of depends also on the competition. There's a big order there. But that's not a bad one. So that's not a bad one to start with either. So there's a few examples. Maybe I'll do a ship. Let me do a ship to close this off. So how about something small? You know, I remember frigates were crap. I remember they didn't make really any money. There's very little margins on frigates. I also remember that mining drones were crap as well. So let's try... I don't know if I've ever made any destroyers. I guess if you're going to browse, you could browse through here, to the market here, and go to ships. So no, we don't want to do battle cruisers and battleships yet. Those would be way too much money for us to start out. I think frigates are no good, so let's not bother with that. Oh, I know what I used to build. I used to build a bit of industrials. I built Badgers because they were decent money. Let's do a Badger. That'll be fun to do. Okay. Volume's been 100 a day. That's not bad. That's okay. Alright, so Badger. So first we're going to check contracts because we don't have a blueprint for it. We don't have a BPO. Badger. Oh no, there's no blueprints for it. Yeah, let's find out. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, 300K. Let's just check the... Oh, that's only one run. That's crap. No, it's no good. One run. One run. One run. That's junk. Oh, that's crap. Okay, now we're getting kind of expensive. Now it's $1 million. $1 million for 15. Well, let's do this one because eventually it won't take long to get $1 million in this game. So let's just do it as normal. So we got 15 run. $1 million. That's 6 zeros divided by 15 runs. So that's about what, 67,000? I'm just got a little notepad in front of me here. I'm writing this down. So 67,000 just for the BP. Okay. 67K per badger, right? The extra cost. Okay, next what you're going to do is you're going to look on your MLCalc. I'll look up badger. Okay, and we're going to check the ME is 30. Okay. So I've got 524K. 524K. So we'll add those together. Well, that's probably about almost 600. Let's add those together. So 67 plus 524. So about 590. Now what was the market price? Okay, so that's no good. You wouldn't build that. There's no money there. Geez, I want to find one that I can make money at. I'll go back to here. What else did I make? Iterons? Let me see here. I don't know. I think I might have made Iteron 3s for a little bit. Let's try Iteron 3s. Okay, Iteron 3s. So check the market. Check contracts. Iteron Mark 3 blueprint. Okay, perfect. 3. Okay, we don't want any one run crap. One run. That's no good. No. There we go. Okay, there's $1 million. That was pretty much the same as last time, right? So that's going to be 67K for Iteron. 67K to the blueprint. Okay, so now we're going to look at the what you can't see here. I'll look up the cost to build it. Iteron 3, and what was it? 100 ME. That's 622. 622 to build. Add those together. That's about 690. So what was the price? Oh, okay. It's not very good, I'll tell you right now. I wouldn't build it. But let me just go back. See what the profit is. 690 divided by, it's going for 740. So you're going to make 7%. So that's pretty crappy. What's the volumes? The volumes are okay. So that's crappy. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. Obviously, you want to make the most profit. But keep in mind, the other thing is the volumes. If it's a high profit, but the volumes are crap, then you don't want to do that either. So volumes for 1,000 or above are fine per day. And you want to make, you should be able to get about 30%, like I found. The warp disruptors were good, 30%. But then you can, of course, go out and look for other things. Now, another thing I did that was really helpful if you're going to get into this game is you want to get a spreadsheet going. Use Excel, Microsoft Excel, or you can use OpenOffice is free. OpenOffice is whatever it's called. And just set up. Hopefully you have some rudiment knowledge of Excel. But you can set up the mineral prices in there, in the little cells, and then you can use equals, and you can make calculations, and you can link the mineral prices you've added in this cell to the cell you're working in to add it all together and figure it out for you. So that's another helpful thing. But MLCalc is pretty good. It's pretty good for T1. So that is my video for figuring out what to build. Leave any comments, and if you like, leave if you found a product that's pretty good to build, and leave it here, leave it as a comment, and say what the profit margin was and all that, and that will be helpful to everybody.